Hey folks, welcome back to the Blade Lab. Today I'm going to be doing a review of the ATK H.A.L.T. That is capital H period, capital A period, capital L period, capital T period. This is a timely review which I'm going to get out today, which is October 2nd, 2024. This knife was a pre-order and that ended some time ago. I believe the pre-orders were delivered in August, but there is going to be a drop today at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. I believe, yes, it is Eastern Time. So if you're interested in this knife, I would jump on that. I will put a link to the ATK website down below in the description. And with that said, let's get on to it. This particular knife here was obviously from the first drop. I did not pre-order it. I went back and forth on pre-ordering it. I really like the way it looks. It got a lot of positive reviews, but I just had purchased too many other things, so I didn't get in on the pre-order. So how did I get this? I've actually found this on the secondary market, and I got a sweet deal on it, I will say, and I jumped on it. And so far that is the only one that I've seen listed on the secondary market. So I wouldn't count on being able to replicate that. Hence the need to get in on the pre-order if you are interested. So let's have a basic description of this. The gentleman behind ATK, I will put his information in the description also if I can find it. But he is, hold on, I'm going to pause this for a second. Okay, so yeah, sorry for the unpreparedness, but yeah, I've just looked on the website for any information. You can read it there too. The designer's name is Lewis. He is, I understand, quite a young man. People who have met him at the Blade Show said he's a great guy. He, in his young life, he's had some challenges, but he's always been interested in knives and has been designing them for quite a while. And I believe this is the first example of one that has actually gone into production. I think I mentioned that it was made by Bestech. So, yeah, so basic description. This is, the blade steel is Magna Cut. They list the HRC, I believe, at 61 to 63. More about that later. This version that I have here obviously has the carbon fiber. This is a purple haze carbon fiber, which I think is beautiful. It is a titanium bolster lock. The frame is titanium. The clip is milled titanium clip, and it has a titanium backspacer. So that is your basic description of the knife. Obviously, it's a Wharncliffe. The deployment method is via this blade hole, which has an interesting shape to it. And so the attraction of this knife for me was probably twofold. One was just the appearance, the design aesthetics. That was my dog just sighing in the background. So yeah, I think it's a beautiful knife. It's pretty. I think it's a pretty unique bolster design. The materials are excellent. I like Wharncliffes generally. It's great for sort of detailed type cutting. It's great for cutting cardboard and that sort of thing. Not so great for sort of chopping anything on a board. You will have to sort of elevate whatever it is you're cutting in order to get your hand out of the way. But different knives for different purposes, and I think most of us have more than one. So yeah, it was the overall design aesthetic that mostly attracted to me to it. Materials, mechanism, yes. I like bolster locks generally. It's time-tested design. Basically, it's, you know, sort of a liner lock, or, you know, kind of a hybrid of a liner lock and a frame lock, where the overlay sort of keeps you from putting pressure on the lock bar. The action on this knife is excellent. It's always hard to show the close from the overhead position, but it is kind of, it's not necessarily a guillotine, but it's like a one shake and a very smooth close. Knife is on ceramic bearings, has a ceramic detent. All of the hardware is T8. I have disassembled it, and I'll throw a photo up for you of the disassembled knife. But one fairly unique thing about this one is that not only is all the external hardware T8, but once you take off these carbon fiber, also comes in my carder, but once you take off the overlays, the internal screws holding the knife together are also T8. Usually, in my experience, once you take off the overlays on this sort of knife, sorry, the internal screws are usually T6, which is not the best. So that's a nice design feature. Let's talk about the specs of the knife. So it is, overall length is 7 3/4 inches, blade length is 3.5 inches, cutting edge is 3 1/4 inches, and the close length is 4.5 inches. So it's a great size for me. You know, everybody has their own preferences, but it's kind of right in sort of this sweet spot of size of knife that I like. It has very good blade to handle ratio, I think. You know, it doesn't come right to the bitter end, but it's but I think it's more blade than you expect when you see it in the closed position. And I'll do some comparisons to other knives in a minute. The weight, speaking of good ratios, the weight is 3.2 ounces on this exact knife here. So it has better than a 1 inch to 1 ounce ratio, which is generally considered a very good. So 3.2 ounces, 3.5 inch blade. The blade stock thickness is 0.125 inches, which is 3 millimeters. The factory edge angle is, it came at 30 degrees per side, which is kind of absurdly obtuse. However, I have since then sharpened it. It is now at 15 degrees per side. As received, it was 10/1000ths of an inch behind the edge, and even after sharpening it to 15 degrees per side, it is still only 12/1000ths behind the edge. And of course, that is the beauty of a hollow grind, is that it gives you an extremely thin edge behind the edge thickness. Can you hear my dog eating his food right now? My wife just brought him his food. Thanks, honey. So obviously that depends on how thin the knife is ground by the manufacturer, but this one is ground very thin. Not only is it still only 12/1000ths behind the edge, but because it is such a tall hollow grind that is ground thin, it will maintain that 12 degrees, that 12/1000ths of an inch behind the edge thickness, even if you sharpen it all the way up to basically the end of the plunge grind. So that's fantastic. It's also going to make the knife extremely slicey, and I can't tell you that I've done a whole ton of cutting with it, but I have cut up a few boxes and opened some packages, and it's a very good slicer, as you would expect. Most hollow grinds are not this tall, so that really helps. When you have a short hollow grind, it does give you that. Usually, it gives you that thinness behind the edge, but it can also give you kind of like a wedge effect when you cut into cardboard, because it widens out like my weird fingers do. So let's do a couple size comparisons. This is a Spyderco PM2, which you can see, let me do them butt to butt. See, the PM2 is considerably longer, but if you look at the actual cutting edge, the H.A.L.T has more cutting edge, and it's also more compact in the handle. Let's also compare it to the Ritter Hogue RSK. These are pretty comparable. The RSK is a little bit longer. It's a little bigger generally, I would say, but in the same neighborhood. Let's compare it to a Benchmade Bug Out, which will be the sort of small comparison. This in the carbon fiber version. And you can see the Bug Out is considerably shorter. And lastly, let's compare it to a Spyderco Manix 2, and this one is in the original goat aluminum scales, which are very cool, by the way. And these two knives are, again, pretty similar in size. I think the Manix is a little bit longer, but again, less cutting edge than the H.A.L.T. So there we go with that. Ergonomically, it's a very comfortable knife. It's a pretty neutral handle. I can grip it hard and I don't feel any hot spots. I cannot really feel the pocket clip. Reverse grip, same thing. You can feel the pocket clip a little more sort of in my fingertips there, but since I virtually never hold the knife this way, it doesn't bother me. Sort of this pull cut, also pretty comfortable, no problems. Let's talk about the action. So the detent is, I would call it medium, and I would say that it's just about perfect for this particular knife. I'm going to zoom out just a hair. So the reverse flick is fantastic. You know, my preferred way, I'm sort of hitting this with kind of the meat of my middle finger, and it flings out super reliably, very satisfying. You can also thumb flick it very easily. You can sort of catch the sort of flat area here in the hole. It's one of the better whole knife thumb actions in my experience. You can also get it lower down. It's just very, very hard to fail. So action is excellent. As I said, the close is also very smooth. Actually, do not care for knives that are just sort of will guillotine shut on you. So I like this. You can sort of disengage, then just one shake and it's comes down very satisfactorily. In terms of pivot play, I would say you can maybe hear it a little bit, but it is a minute amount of pivot play.